Good evening, everyone, and thanks for coming, and we sure appreciate y'all being here. And like to start off tonight's meeting with Reverend Randy Storts from Mount Beulah Baptist Church is going to do our invocation, please. And we sure appreciate you coming.
Let's pray together. Well, Heavenly Father, I come before you right now. I thank you for the beautiful day you've given us. I thank you for this group that has come together this evening to do your work in this county, in this community, make decisions as appointed and elected leaders. Lord, from your word, I ask that you would bless them as they do things decently and in order. And the Lord, as decisions are made, that they would be made in your perfect will. And we know, Lord, that you're in total control. And we thank you for that and ask that you would guide in every discussion, every recommendation that is made this evening. And these that are here this evening to petition this group, I ask that you would just calm them, give them the words that need to be said, and allow this board, this group of commissioners to make decisions that is the best for this community. Lord, I ask that you would bless this meeting this evening. Bless us as we go our ways at the end of it. And Lord, that you would be glorified in all that's said and done. And all God's people said, amen.
Amen.
All right, thank you very much. All right, as always, I start out, I read the ethics rules. In accordance with State Government Ethics Act 138A, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation. Do any board members have a conflict at this time? If not, thank you. Now, to approve the agenda, just as one agenda item that we would need to take out is Representative Brody had to go to Raleigh. He was originally going to be on the appearances tonight, but he had something that he had to attend to in Raleigh, so he's postponed his appearance until the next meeting. So with that as an amendment, is there anything else on the agenda that anyone would like to discuss or amend? If not, do we have a motion to accept the agenda with the one change?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Mills, second by Commissioner Cottle. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes to accept the agenda with the one change. Okay, now to go into the consent agenda. Does anybody have any concern about those four items?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Gaywood to approve the consent agenda, second by Commissioner Mims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes to approve the consent agenda. So for tonight's appearances, we have two guests from SPCC, Miss Tanya Chance and Miss Michelle Brock, and I'm not quite sure how y'all want to proceed. Okay, I sure appreciate y'all coming, and they're getting ready to tell everyone about a great program, and I think the county really could benefit. It's just really good, so I appreciate y'all coming.
Thank you for allowing us to speak, and I do have Tanya Chance here with me. We are tag teaming tonight, but again, thank you for letting us speak. Wanted to go over two programs that South Piedmont offers tuition assistance for Anson County residents. The first one is called Anson Advantage, and you all will remember back in 2016, North Carolina changed the way sales tax is distributed, and it started benefiting rural communities more than it did in the past, and because of that, Anson County started receiving more funds in sales tax money, and that sales tax money was earmarked for K-12 education, community college education, or economic development. And the commissioners at that time agreed to split Anson County's allocation into thirds. So South Piedmont receives a third of that sales tax money, and we are so appreciative of that money that we have continued to receive year over year. And with the money that we receive, we spend a portion of it on what we call the Anson Advantage. So the Anson Advantage offers free tuition and fees for any Anson County resident who wants to come to South Piedmont Community College to earn an associate's degree or a continuing education program that leads to higher wages and can be completed in a year or less. These are programs like construction, welding, HVAC, electrical, things like that, in addition to our 2-year associate's degree. And again, that is offered to Anson County residents at absolutely no charge to them through your generous allocation to South Piedmont Community College. We would love to have people knocking down our doors to take advantage of this program, and several do annually, but we would like even more Anson County residents taking advantage of this program. So, after you get through with your associate's degree from South Piedmont, you can apply to Wingate University and take advantage of their Gateway to Wingate scholarship, which offers graduates of South Piedmont Community College the chance to attend Wingate University for no more than $2,500 a year. So if you take advantage of the Anson Advantage program, get your associate's degree, and then go on to Wingate University and finish your 4-year degree, you can have that bachelor's degree for no more than $5,000. I'm a graduate of Wingate University, and I can tell you that is a humongous deal. So but that Gateway to Wingate is a partnership that we have with Wingate University. So wanted to share those two things with you, and again, thank you for your generosity over the years, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And if not, I will leave some information with Ms. Cannon, if that's okay.
And I think all citizens can help get the word out about this program. I mean, I know it's available. I know that you work with the high school, and I know that you're informing the kids about it, but I think we can all try to promote this wherever we go, and some of the parents may not realize, and I just can't imagine that we have a program like this that's not being used as much as it seems like it ought to be.
Yes. Annually, we spend about $100,000 on tuition and fees for Anson County residents, but we have the capacity to spend some more.
Yeah, yeah.
I also brought some flyers for anyone in the audience who would like one. Thank you.
We sure appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for coming. Okay, all right. Now, Mr. Rory from GX SGC Construction. Yes. Okay, come on up. Appreciate you coming tonight.
Hope everyone's having a good night. My name is Peter Rory. I am founder and owner of GXXGC Construction. We do work throughout North Carolina and South Carolina. A little bit about us is we're a mom and pop based construction company. Our intention is solely to build affordable homes, smaller starter homes that people can actually afford to get in and stay in and take pride in having. What we basically do is build anywhere from 2-bedroom, 1 bath to 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath homes, and we try to base them in the market of something under $200,000, brand new. So in this pamphlet, you'll see a little bit about us, where you can read who we are, what we try to do. Our overall objective is to more or less collaborate with leaders here and the town of Wadesboro and the county of Anson, just to kind of get us on, or get you guys on the same page as their 2040 vision here in Anson County, at least from what I've been reading on. Our second objective basically is to map out ideal locations here in the city and find where it looks like there's an objective that portion of the city needs some love, and or it needs a little bit more attention than other portions of the city may be getting. Our build process takes us about 4 to 6 months from breaking ground to having a complete project done, and we don't intend on building up major communities. We're going into neighborhoods that are kind of dilapidated and they need new homes in them, you know what I mean, where there's just an empty lot here and there that potentially should have a home sitting on it and a family in it that could afford to stay there for a long time. Home ownership is something that is necessary throughout the country, and from what we can see and what we know, there is a lack of affordable homes. So our purpose is to continue to build good product, affordable, and get people in them. That's our main purpose. Some of the statistics here, if you can see, there are currently 45 homes for sale in Wadesboro. Of those, 20 are under $200,000. None of them were built less than a year ago, under $200,000. While the majority of the homeowners are occupied, or affordability and safety of those existing homes are concerning. When you have a home that's sitting beside it that potentially no one's living in it, they're not occupying it, no one even is thinking about coming there to cut the grass. So we just want to build the neighborhoods back up where we get people who care about living in them, staying in them for a long time. I mean, the median income in 2021 was $26,000, which makes the current new builds in Wadesboro unaffordable. When they're at $250,000, $300,000. The median property value in Wadesboro was $70,000, and that was in 2021, which is a significant less than the average national price. Existing homes in older communities, and compared to the state average, is higher percentage of them being mobile homes in rural or vacant lots. So on one of these third pages here in the booklet, you'll see where we've done some projects in some other communities where before we came in, they just needed some love on that street. And that was it. They needed new homes, and they needed people who wanted to be there. And you can see that in the project. And as it goes on, you'll see other projects that we've done, and interior portions of the homes and exterior. And that pretty much is where I am with it. I just want to let you guys know that I am here in the community, and we are looking and purchasing small lots to start building affordable homes one at a time. I don't know if anyone had a question.
One thing to keep in mind, we have some of these community block grants that we're working on now, and although the municipalities like Morven has a community block grant, Ansonville, those towns you really talk to their councils, but Burnsville, since it's part of the county and it's not a true municipality, we have a community block grant there that's in the process of taking place, and there we're revitalizing or renovating old homes. The permitting office, which is where Keith Gaskins, our permitting person, if you were interested in anything like those type of projects, you might give him your contact, which you may have already done that. So when that community block grant becomes available, which we've already gotten approved for it, the Burnsville one is actually through the county because it's not a town. But like Wadesboro, of course, you'd have to talk to the Wadesboro Town Council about things within the town, which I'm sure you already know that. But I agree that affordable housing is certainly one of our big problems in Anson County. It's very limited, and so we sure appreciate that somebody's looking at doing some of that work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions? No?
I apologize.
No, I just want to.
Were these projects local projects?
They were not in Wadesboro, they were in Gaston County and
Okay.
Shelby, so smaller towns similar to this.
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
And these are examples of your work.
Absolutely.
Also, Mr. Chairman, Ansonville has its own CDBG program, and so he could contact the
Town Council.
council there.
Yeah. So Ansonville Town Council, like Burnsville would be us. Ansonville being its own little municipality, you would contact them, and their office there in Ansonville, and then Morven, of course, is its own municipality as well. So if they had work there, you would contact the Morven Town Council.
All right. Yep, I really appreciate it. Good
I think you also mentioned that you're interested in buying lots.
Absolutely.
One other resource would be our county website on foreclosed lots that the county is selling off. That may be an opportunity for you to buy some lots that are buildable.
Absolutely, that's exactly what I need to be doing.
By chance, did you bring a business card?
I did not. I kind of rushed out of the truck to make it in here on time. I'm glad I walked straight in.
Well, if you'll make contact with the clerk and so we have their contact information.
I would definitely do it.
Thank you.
Definitely. I appreciate it.
In Ansonville, like Manager Sussman said, just their town council. So you would contact the Ansonville Town Hall to find out about they have that community block grant as well. So that's probably right on time for what you were talking about doing.
All right, and most of all those are for renovating what's already standing.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. But there's a pretty good bit of funding for each one. Is the Ansonville and Burnsville both have received $950,000 in grant money. So yeah. So we're real happy that some of the houses will get fixed up.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I appreciate all the information. Thanks for the good feedback.
Thank you.
Keep that with me. You guys can hold on to that stuff. I'll get that information over to you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. No, you're fine.
GXXGC Construction.
So you can Google that.
All right. Now we would do our public addresses to the board, so I need to read a quick statement. Each citizen shall be allowed 3 minutes for their presentation. Each citizen will be allowed 3 minutes for their presentation. Commissioners are expected not to comment on matters brought to the board during this time, but to delay action or comment until staff has had the opportunity to research the subject matter and to report necessary and relevant information to all members of the board. So at this time, could Mr. Helms please come speak? Yes, sir.
I'm still energizing. Still energizing. I want to bring this to the board tonight. I want to thank y'all for, each one of y'all for listening to me. The issue tonight is to being able to beef up the animal control in the county. We've got wild dogs in our neighborhood, and the police department claims that they're restricted because they have to have a 911 call or a communication call before it allows them to be able to dispatch. And the time of dispatch to an animal. What I'm here for tonight is to ask the board if you can loosen up the restrictions on animal control, that they can act as an agent for themselves, and they don't have to have the police department to send the order over to them, not an individual, but the police department, and give them an order for the resident to act as an agent about sending animal control out. What my plea is tonight, that we loosen that up and people can actually directly call animal control if they need something and not have to go through the police department. And also, we need more animal control officers. We've got 2 in the county. And we need to beef it up a little bit, because these wild dogs are in our neighborhood, Mr. Gatewood. They're in our neighborhood right now. And I've talked to the police, I know 5 times, and I've called them out. They don't carry nets in their cars because they say they're police officers, they're not dog catchers. So the fact of it is, we need to get some liberation on how to get more restrictions loosened on animal control, that they can act as an agent on their own self and not have to be dispatched by dispatch. We are totally in chaos right now with these wild animals, and I believe to what my investigation is, the police knows where these animals' owner is, but they won't disclose it to me as an individual. So my car was destroyed, the side of my fender was destroyed by wild dogs trying to get the cats. They've killed 7 cats in mine in your neighborhood. 7 cats by reaching under the cat to get the cat. But anyway, my time's up. But that's my plea tonight, is for y'all to look into letting animal control act as their own agent and don't have to get a report from the police department. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. And Pastor McNair, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening.
I want to start by saying that we are in this county together. And what happens to some of us should be a concern to all of us. And this is in reference to what I read regarding the landfill, the expansion of the landfill. I know I don't live in the Polkton area, but who's to say that the quality of air there will not eventually have, or may already have, an impact on the quality of air where we're living right now. This landfill has been in existence for a number of years. Has it been a positive, or has it been a negative? When you really think about it, are we supporting the use of this landfill, expanding it, just because there's easy money that goes with it? Are we really looking at whether or not it has, or maybe having a negative impact on the citizens here in Anson County? Have we done a longitudinal study, a real study, not by the people who are operating it, but an outside independent study that is determining whether or not the water quality, the air quality, the environmental impact on our health? Why do we have such a high percentage of people with diabetes? Why do we have such a high percentage of people with kidney disease? Is there any kind of correlation that's coming from the fact that we are embracing something that could be very much hazardous to the health of the citizens here in the county? I've been in places before where the people really did take issue with that. I'm finding that all of the counties around us do not have the landfill that we have. The landfill that we have is allowing people, counties outside of Anson County, even another state, to bring their waste to Anson County. And I'm quite sure that's because of how we have our zoning set up. At least that's the impression that I've been told. not told, but the impression that I get. So I just want us to not think in terms of just getting money for the sake of getting money. Let's be a little more creative in how we go about raising the revenue that we need to have in Anson County. If other counties are doing it, why can't we? Why are we the only county between Mecklenburg, I won't leave Mecklenburg out of it, Stanley, Montgomery, Richmond. But we're the only county that's not growing to the extent that the others are. And if we're talking about bringing more businesses and housing into Anson County, how is that landfill gonna impact the resale value or the selling value of the property? My time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor McNair. Okay, at this time, we are on our administrative matters, and we're revisiting the boardroom occupancy policy, and I think everybody had a chance to review it. And at this time, based upon the review, do we have a possible motion to accept the boardroom occupancy policy at this time?
Mr. Chairman, if there are no issues with it, I'll make a motion that we accept the policy.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Cottle, second by Commissioner Gatewood. Now would be the time for discussion. If anybody had a concern or we've looked at it, it seems fairly simple. It goes along with the fire marshal code, which obviously we're restricted to use that. So if anybody, no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Boardroom occupancy policy is in place. Okay, at this time, we would discuss the Anson County Employee Recognition Program.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board.
Good evening.
This is just a follow-up from the email that Mr. Sossman has sent last month. It was requested I come answer any questions that you may have and just kind of present it as an overview. What we're looking at is updating the policy. The main thing that's changing is we would like to give the employees a full day off. Currently, they get 3 hours of petty leave. For part-time employees, what we do, because they don't have a leave bank, we just create a leave bank for them. So it'd be the same thing. Currently, we'll just add a leave bank for vacation time. One of the proposal was with like emergency services and detention officers, because they work 12 and 24-hour shifts, to give them equivalent of their full day, they would get the full 12 or 24 hours based off their normal shift. The other thing that we was looking at changing is giving them a $100 Visa gift card. I know some of the questions was how would it be funded. For the remainder of this fiscal year, the HR and the finance department will cover that cost, and then in the current budget year and ongoing budget years, I would request that as part of the HR budget. It'll be about $1,200 a month, because we recognize 3 people a quarter, so it'll be a total of $1,200 total, unless we have more, and then we'll just cover it as it comes up. But those were the main things. The idea came from just looking kind of what other counties currently do. I know some counties do a $250 recognition once a quarter. There was another county that we looked at. They look at it yearly. I think it was $1,000, but it's just a once a year thing. So this is just something we was looking at, try to revamp our current program. Were there any questions or concerns?
Ms. Ingram, I think you have some excellent suggestions here. I like the program. Only one concern that I have, and that is a $100 Visa gift card. Could we process that $100 through our payroll system?
I don't see why we could. I can double check with Ms. Berry, but we could process it, because any other time we've done special pay, we ran it through payroll, so I don't see why it wouldn't be an issue. The only thing is with taxes. So do you want taxes to come out and just...
No, I would gross it up.
So just gross it up too?
Absolutely. So okay. The net is $100 for the employee that receives the reward.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem, because I know we did something, I want to say it was 2 years ago, for veteran services program for our veterans, and we had ran that through payroll, so I don't see what would be a problem, but I can run that by Ms. Berry just to confirm.
With that change, I make a motion that we approve the proposal.
Motion made by Commissioner Gatewood.
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Cottle. Any discussion? And I think we all like to recognize the employees that are doing a great job. So in discussion, I would like to say that. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, and now we would move to the manager's report.
I'll make this very short and sweet because I have the pleasure, Adam Kiker from LKC, who's the design work planning for the East 74 gravity sewer line is here. And Adam, they have in their packages the bid results that you opened up so kindly. And so they're looking for your recommendation.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Salzman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it's a pleasure to be here this evening. We did open bids 2 weeks ago. Forgive me, the date on my letter is incorrect. We opened bid two weeks ago on the gravity sewer project extension from basically the Wade Mill area extending east about 2,000 feet. This project was one that you've been considering for about 18 months or so. In our opinion, we had a very good bid opening. From a design standpoint, you had two bids that I've been doing this 18 years, and I've never seen two bids that were 0.3% apart from each other. And your low bid, and all five bidders were highly qualified firms that we work with often. So we have talked to the low bidder was Columbus Utilities, $890,145. We've had a nice conversation with them to make sure they understand our expectations and your team's expectations for the project. So if you are inclined to move forward with the project, we would recommend that you award it to Columbus Utilities. And Mr. Chairman, I'll pause there. I'd be happy to talk about the process going forward if you like, but first I'll ask if you have any questions.
The first question, what is the time frame on the bids?
So the bids are valid for 60 days from the date of the bid opening. And my sincere apologies, the date I put on my letter is incorrect. I believe that date was October 27th, if I remember correctly. I'd have to go back and look at my calendar. So you have 60 days from that date that the bids are must remain valid. If you delay awarding the contract after that, it's possible that the low bidder would hold their bids, but it's not guaranteed. Does that answer your question?
It does, and what I was kind of wondering, since they did come in a lot higher than we anticipated, is there any process to possibly look at rebid or re-requesting bids, like to put it out again for an updated bid reception? Because I know we just, we weren't prepared for that amount, and I don't know if we put it out for bid again, whether you would do it as LKC or whether we had the proprietary rights to put it out as an RFQ and run it ourselves. But we just have a problem with this amount. And those two questions, number one would be, would we have the proprietary rights to bid it out ourselves and do an RFQ? Or would you also, at what point, if possible, could you rebid it and seek a wider audience, or maybe they would fine tune it a little bit?
Sure. So I'll answer your questions in a various order. So our drawings are your product. So we produced a set of sealed plans and specifications that we own together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you would like to take those plans and use them in a way that's not in ill intent with the law, you have every right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So rebidding the project, so you and I would ask you to rely on the advice of
That's right. Yeah, we will.
Advice of your attorney on this.
Yeah.
From our experience, the statutes indicate that if you go through a formal bid, as you have, and the project is over the funds available, you would first attempt to negotiate with the low bidder. In this particular case, it's a linear project. It's a specified type of pipe, number of manholes. There might be a way to save some based on feedback from the low bidder, but you're not going to save 10% or even any more than that just because of the scope of the project. It's not, for example, we designed a type of building and they might say, well, if you built a different style building, it would be noticeably less or something like that. So our interpretation and our experience with this, I would rely on your counsel to offer interpretation. is the statute does allow you to rebid it, but if you're going to rebid it, from our experience, the statute wants you to make material changes to the scope of the project that would warrant going through the bid process again. Simply rebidding the process, or simply rebidding the project under the intention of getting different pricing is not within the intent of the statute from our experience.
Mm-hmm.
I will also offer, Mr. Chairman, in the current environment, we believe you got very good pricing compared to what we're seeing across the board. We think it's more than likely that if you did rebid it and you were legally allowed to rebid it, the prices would go up, in our opinion.
And I did seek our attorney's recommendations before I even asked the question tonight. I asked him if it would be appropriate, so he wasn't advising me to or not, but to ask the question he felt would be appropriate. So
Sure.
Okay, so back to the two possibilities then. There is a possibility that it could be rebid by LKC, or there's a possibility that we could have the proprietary rights and do an RFQ and seek the bidding ourselves, but that would be based on our attorney's interpretation of what that would be. So,
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So you have our engineered product. So simply going through or simply facilitating the public bid process is not practicing engineering. So
Yeah.
Anyone could do that. If you'd like to, you could take our product. Well, not anyone, that's not true. You as the owner of our product could do that if you so choose. Or if you truly choose to rebid it, we would be happy to do that for you. And that can happen relatively quickly.
Would you have to wait for the 60 days to play out before you could do that?
You would not necessarily. You could. I think, in our opinion, I would want your council's advice on this. You would want to formally reject all bids as a body, and then decide to re-advertise and rebid. Again, your attorney would want to advise you on this. We would recommend discussing this with the low bidder first. If anyone was going to protest that action, it would be the low bidder,
Mm-hmm.
right? They went through a bid as you intended. They followed all the statutes. They were the low bidder in what was a very tight bid, right? There's really no reason for you to doubt their ability to do the work at their price. So in theory, they might not be entirely happy if you decided to simply rebid it just for the sake of rebidding.
Matt?
Yeah.
I don't want to step on you. You go first.
We listen to the attorney, so
Well,
you
I'm
get
just
first shot.
Would you not agree that we would have to change the scope of this process before we just change it to open it up for more bids?
So our experience with the North Carolina public bid statutes is simply rebidding the project only with the intention of getting better pricing is not in alignment with the statute. If you choose to rebid the project, you need to have some material difference in the scope, and that would justify rebidding the project.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared to answer that question tonight, so I can go back and think about. No, that's fine. It's a valid question. I could talk to our team and talk to your team and see, could we come up with something that might adjust the scope to make us feel comfortable with that recommendation. Off the top of my head, I don't have one.
And we would want it, of course, to be a real adjustment, not just symbolic. I mean, I know that's not what you're saying,
Right.
but in reality, like a design engineering kind of approach, that you come up with an idea that if we were to ask these bidders to do this instead of that, could they come up cheaper? You know.
Right.
So I'm sorry.
Well, Commissioner Woodburn, all I was going to ask is since Mr. Cocker did mention one possibility that we really haven't discussed, and that is, since he's our agent and he's the project engineer, is to allow him the opportunity to sit down with Columbus Utilities and see if they're willing to negotiate a lower price, whether it's 3% or 5%.
So I'd be happy to have that conversation. In our opinion, going to a low bidder who has gone through the test of a public bid and given you the lowest price compared to 5 or 4 other bidders, it's not, in our opinion, the right thing to do to just ask, can you reduce your price? If I put myself in their shoes, I would very thankfully say, I would say thank you, but no, I'm not going to. In this particular case, adjusting the scope is difficult. The pipeline has a very specific start point, and it has a very, very specific end point, and there's not it's a straight line from one to the other, so there's not a whole lot of creativity to how we could reduce the scope, or I should say change the scope of the project in an effort to reduce cost. For example, Mr. Chairman, we see this often. Maybe we bid a 2 million gallon per day treatment plant and it comes in over, so we would redesign it and bid it as a 1 million gallon per day treatment plant. That would be a very clear justification for why you would rebid something. Or we might have designed a 12-inch pipe and it's over budget, so we would redesign a 10-inch pipe. In this particular case, everything's kind of at its minimum standard. But I sense the hesitation. I would offer you do not have to take action tonight, or you do not have to award this contract tonight. The bids will be good until basically the end of September, or excuse me, end of December. And if you would like to delay action, I'd be happy to discuss with staff, or of course answer any other questions that you would have.
Mr. Woodburn.
Okay. Based on my understanding of what I'm hearing, is that because let me preface my comments by saying I'm not happy with the bid prices either, but at the same time we've got a business person that has invested in our county. They're waiting to start up a business based on this project. And my recommendation would be to have the discussion with the low bidder, explain the situation. We had X number of dollars set aside for this project, and this is what your bids come in at. We want to do it, but are there any ways to reduce this number? In other words, just see what they recommend. I know that the basic scope of the project is pretty much cut and dry, but there may be some ways to take some cost out. Maybe one less manhole, or maybe even a different grade of pipe. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Right, I understand. Right.
So that would be my recommendation. Do that, and I'm thinking that maybe the county manager needs to be involved. Then we can decide from there, based on that discussion and what the number ends up being, we can decide where we're going to go from there. But I think we're committed to do this project, and I think we need to just don't jump on and say, yeah, this is the lowest bid, and we want to do it. But let's negotiate and see if there's any possibility of reducing this number any, and then we can decide. In my thinking.
In the pipe material, like I know part of it's PVC and part of it's iron. I don't know that the material is so minor compared to the labor, I think, of this job. I don't know if there's. Yeah, I know. Because I'm just trying to think along with you. I mean, the pilings or whatever you're mounting them on, the surface mount. I'm sure there's a spec that you have to stay within for the distance there. I don't really know. I'm thinking like Mr. Woodburn. We just got caught off guard, and we want this project. Really, the idea of this project is to get on the other side of that creek so we can open east of that creek up for business, and that would include the mini mart, of course, but it would also include that lot across the street, which is the original site for the county extension office, which is no longer in the works. So we really want to open that corridor up for business, and I'm just asking questions because when we get hit by a number that's that much higher, we have to try to be creative, like, to try to find, is there any other way we can do this, So
I'd be happy, as Mr. Woodburn suggested, to have that conversation. I would just ask you to temper your expectations.
Yes, sir.
There may be a way to save some small amounts. So the pipe material was a good question. This particular project, the depth and the alignment, it really only necessitated the minimum dexterity of pipe. For the most part, the minimum standard PVC. There were some areas where we had to switch to ductile because of the depth of the pipe and how it was mounted in order to meet the state regulations. We had to switch. We can have that conversation. I'd be happy to.
And I saw some of the 16-foot depth, which I didn't realize, and until you shot the grade out, I guess there would be no way of knowing it would be that deep. But there were some things in there that I wouldn't have known, of course. But what, in Attorney Forbes, in talking about contracts, is it appropriate for me at this time to ask what the LKC portion of the 890? How does that is that a closed session thing?
Well, with your, I'd be happy to answer that. If you would,
I just didn't know if that was a closed session thing. Is that open session? Okay, good. Okay, so then the 890, I guess the thing we need to know for our is what is the total, which include the LKC portion.
Right, and I did not bring a total budget with me tonight. So the 890,000, that's the contractor's bid amount. So none of that includes any of our firm's services. We have a fixed price contract with you that we negotiated in March of 2022, I believe, so, something like that. The design piece, which is complete, was $32,000. That's already almost been paid in full. I think I actually just saw the last invoice sent today. And then our services during construction, because we'll have an individual. You've seen our trucks around town. We'll have an individual out here during construction. I believe it was 28,000. But don't hold me. It's in that ballpark. 26 or 28,000 was our team's services.
And the reason I'm asking that is a fixed price, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so then we would look at 32 and 28.
Right.
Okay, so that's a fixed price. I just want to make sure there's not some other, because we're going to be fine-tuning this thing, that there's not anything that we're not aware of. So those are the only numbers that we would need to be concerned about.
So yeah, and our contract was pre-audited, and so the budget organization for the project would have that in it. So your additional cost to date, you've already paid our design services, so you would have the construction phase, which I think was 26 or 28,000.
Okay.
And then there's a certification piece on a few thousand at the end of the job, because we have to wrap it up and get the state to certify. And then we would recommend, Mr. Chairman, regardless of what the negotiated or rebid amount is, you would want to enter a project like this with a contingency in the budget. You know, maybe 10%, 8% or so of whatever your contract amount is, as a just in case you hit something that has to be addressed.
But in that was going to be my final question. Do we have any change order protections with that 890? Is there a protection there for us?
So the bid documents include standardized EJCDC contract documents, which have I don't want to say very strict, but a very organized method of how changes in contract price and changes in contract time are stipulated. So in this particular project, there is a risk. You're digging below ground where you don't necessarily know exactly what's below ground, so there is a risk that, as with any below ground utility project, that you could encounter something that was unforeseen.
But sometimes there's a contingency built in where we would save money if they didn't hit that risk. So in what you're saying, it's the opposite. We have 890 plus the possibility of a risk.
That is correct. Yes, you would want to have a contingency, and the budget that we sent, the last time we sent your team a budget was last summer I believe. It had a contingency line in it as a just in case.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
What Mr. Kiker is saying exactly true, because what you have is a total for this project of $788,000. Of that amount, $638,000 was set for construction, then $86,000 for engineering, and then you had a contingency left over of $64,000. That's what totals up to the $788, and obviously the bids came in at $890.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, because eventually the number we need is the actual total as high as it could possibly be. I mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm getting at, because if we're going to be scraping up everything that we can come up with, and then we decide to move forward and then find out it goes up again for some reason, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Right.
So,
Mr. Chairman, I got one question.
Yes, sir.
So the budget that I guess, Mr. Cocker, your firm presented to us back, I guess, March of '22.
I think that's right. Yes, sir.
That is when we set the budget for 640, and I apologize, this was before my time here.
That's
but
okay. Yeah.
So you give us that budget, we approve to go ahead, and now we get a bid for 788. Can you explain why, in your best guess, why it's so much higher?
So you described the process correctly. We give you a preliminary opinion of construction cost, right? So this is at the time, about a year and a half ago, based on our experience with similar jobs in the market at that time, our expectation of, or estimation of what we think it would cost. And we presented you a budget for that. You know, the answer to the question of why are the bids so much higher versus now is pretty simple. The amount of work available for these types of contractors is just overwhelming. It is very much a name your price market for those individuals. And I looked at the budget before we came, and 638, Mr. Sossman said it correctly. Frankly, it was about 33% or so, 30% higher. I think that's really good compared to what we're seeing across the market right now. There are lots of arguments as to whether that's good or bad, right, with all the economic activity and the private investment that's going on in our region. The result is, though, the amount of work for public utilities contractors versus the number of contractors to do it is just so skewed in their favor. We were candidly, in our opinion, fortunate to have 5 bids, right? In general, we've been opening bids the first time and not getting 3 bids, which means we have to re-advertise and do it a second time. If you look down the line in the number of bids, you look at SKC and Dellinger's bid, and you see how different they are. That's simply a sign of, it's not what do they think it takes to do the job, it's what number would I want to do this job for, is the type of market they're in right now.
Okay. So,
and I know that's a very odd answer. That's the best I know to
understand. Does a project like this typically take 18 months to get to the bid process?
It typically would not, and that's a good question, and we'll take some responsibility for that. We had some delays getting things going on our side, and then we had delays getting DOT to approve this. So I don't know how to assign that either way. Getting the design completed and to DOT, it took longer than we wanted it to inside our shop. And just to be real candid, and is a lot of the similar situation that I just mentioned on the contractors. We're facing a volume of workload, and everyone that's in our business that's difficult to manage. Okay. And it's really that way region-wide, firm-wide. It's a very interesting time that we're in right now.
Okay, thank you.
What is the time frame that if the bid were awarded, does the contractor have to complete?
So the contractor has 5 months to complete the project, but the clock does not start when you award. The clock starts when you issue the notice to proceed. Mm-hmm. If you awarded tonight, the clock would probably start, I would say sometime in January of next year. So the contractor would have 5 months from around January to finish. Part of the issue, Mr. Chairman, for that time frame, the contract allows for odd circumstances between award and starting the clock based on procuring material. One of the challenges that everyone's having right now is the delivery time for precast manholes, and everything from storm drain to inlet boxes, in this case manholes, is months. So we would manage that. The contract does not allow you to kind of push that on the contractor and charge him damages for delays that he can't control. So the way we manage that is we award the contract, execute contracts, we review the materials so that he can order them, and then they can be on site when he's ready to start. So to answer your question, if you awarded tonight, the clock would start, I would think, sometime in January, and they would be obligated to be finished in June.
Any more questions? So the possibility for tonight would be to table this and have further discussion? Would the board be entertain that idea? Because we meet every 2 weeks, which is kind of a good thing now.
My recommendation was to have Mr. Cocker go back to the low bidder and have some discussion about whatever options might be possible to take some costs out of this thing. Find out what
We'd be
that
happy
is.
to do that and can provide at least a summary of that before your the third Monday in November. I don't know if we'd have a final answer by then. It'll depend on whether or not the contractor can get answers from his suppliers and other folks.
We can just get an update on the status at that time.
Yeah,
That
be
would be
happy
good.
to.
Yeah.
Is the board, is that
I
everybody?
think that in the form of a motion if you.
Okay, Mr. Woodburn's motion to wait until we get some more information and have Mr. Kiker come back and update us. So at this time, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Caudle. And is there any further discussion? So at this time, all those in favor on waiting to find out more information, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, looks like the motion passes, that we'll wait to receive more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Cocker.
Yep. Okay. At this time, in the chairman report for tonight, I wanted to talk about Veterans Day service at North Wadesboro Baptist Church. The Anson County Veterans Day service will be held at North Wadesboro Baptist Church on Saturday, November 11th, 2023 at 10 a.m. The community is invited to join in with the display of appreciation to all of our men and women who have served in the military. The church is located at 1211 North Green Street in Wadesboro. And we have a request that, is there any board member that is a veteran that would like to volunteer to provide the welcome address on behalf of the county? Since we don't, would you be willing to do?
Am I the only veteran?
You're the only one here now. We do have 3 veterans on the board, but there's only 1 in attendance tonight, so.
No, I was just messing, but I'll be more than happy to do it. And that's the welcome address, not.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'll be glad to do it.
Okay, and Clark Cannon, I guess, would arrange for, okay. Okay, that's good. We sure appreciate that. And I'd like to say we do have 3 veterans on the board, and I would like to add the appreciation for all the veterans in our county, but include Mr. Woodburn, Commissioner Little Reed, and Commissioner Smith, as all 3 being veterans, and we sure appreciate their services. So that's what I wanted to bring up for the chairman report tonight. And now we would have commissioner concerns, if there are any.
If no one else has any, I just have one comment, basically. I just would like to thank the commissioners, our county manager, county staff, and all the citizens for all the calls, cards, texts, flowers, and support given to me and my family over the past 2 weeks during the death of my father. This was truly a blessing to receive that kind of love and support from our community. So again, thank you.
All right. So, at this,
Chairman.
yes, sir.
One other thing, are we actually going to have a closed session tonight?
I was just getting ready to ask.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. And it seems like we had one scheduled, so at this time we would have a closed session to consult with the attorney and to consider and give instructions concerning a potential or actual claim, administrative procedure, or judicial action. So at this time we would go into closed session, and of course, like always, we'll come back and have open session before we close for the night. So before we adjourn.
Chairman, I make the motion, we're going to closed session.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Woodburn to go into closed session, second by Commissioner Gatewood. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So we'll go into closed session. Session. We're now back in open session. And at this time, would the board like to vote to bring our county ordinance in compliance with statute 143-166.42?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the vote is unanimous. At this time, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Motion to adjourn made by Mr. Woodburn, second by Mr. Caudle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion